Oh, so apparently Douglas needs an engine painted. He usually brings him over half-assed. So Brody, being the sweet kid that he is, he's here to paint it for him, but I just like to look things over and double check.
Look it over.
You do this
half-assed?
yeah.
Because I've only got no carburetors on it.
You only got no carburetors?
I only got no just one lifting plate. Hey, I got my own pre-painted parts.
Doesn't something go here or here?
That's a throttle cable
Yeah,
bracket.
but isn't there like a little spring or something?
You don't put springs on before
If it makes
paint.
you feel any better, he's just trying to do this to be rude to you.
I'm never rude.
So it's ready, Will, and what
Okay.
if it's not? I'll just bring you parts later.
Okay, we'll push it over and go ahead and spray
You
it.
gonna help him or?
Thank you, buddy. I don't need his help.
Yeah, you do.
No, I don't.
Yeah, you do, Doug.
Here we go.
Oh, give me a home where the follow wrong, where the deer and the antelope play.
The worst parts of the Bible have come to fruition.
I think Mark is crazy.
And the skies are not cloudy all day.
Just want to paint cars.
Royal just taking another one for the team.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Okay, so we'll try it again, right, Roost?
Yep, we'll try it again.
Gosh. Well, it's a learning process. Those of you at home, we learn too. Go ahead and slide that down into the either one you want. You can start at the back if you want. I don't care. Just to remind everybody, Doug and I, last season, were trying to put in the comp roller lifters and roller rockers to assemble my high school car 440 Tribute we're building. I had forgotten that when you use the roller rockers, and in this case the roller lifters, the factory push rod is too long. So here's where we ran into a problem last time when we put these together is we didn't have the reach that we needed. They didn't go down to where they're supposed to go, so what happened? We had a rocker arm that wouldn't seat. Now it seats, so now we just take a little bit of lash out of there. What happens is, with that push rod being too long, we can't get the rocker assembly to go down far enough for it to seat before the rockers themselves begin engaging the valves. That's just going to make an engine not run well. And it's going to cause interference problems where a valve could hit a piston. So that's when we stopped. That's when it was my buddies over in Redmond, Smith Brothers, to the rescue. I called them up. I said, I've got a ball on both end push rod that is 8.710. I need 16 and I need them now. They did me a real solid and I just want to tell them thank you because now Dougie and I can move forward with the final assembly of the engine and cork that bad mother thumper off. What you're doing here, guys, is if you tighten this rocker shaft down, and let's say this push rod is over to the side or down. Can you see that? It's not lined up nicely with the tip right here. So you have to hold it up into place when you're tightening these down to make sure that you have it in place like it should be. This is, to be honest with you folks, why I like Chrysler normal engines, because all you do is put the rocker assembly on and go home. Here you play with it, but you know, in the end you got some good performance out of the old girl, probably.
Yep.
We have some nice stuff. Gonna be a snorkeler out there in the old world, isn't she?
Yes, it is.
You scared?
No.
You should be,
Why?
because I'm gonna come after your Barracuda.
That's going to be a long drive. So now he's talking about finishing his Charger so he can go hunt down my Barracuda and blow its doors off. I haven't owned that car since 1981.
You know what I'm thinking about doing?
What are you thinking about doing?
Thinking about buying another Baja Bug.
Oh, that'd be great.
Remember my Baja Bug?
I
that Your
do.
brother stole the engine out of?
Yeah, you tried to kill everybody in it.
Well, I didn't try to kill anybody, but there was an accident one time. You seen the animation I did to it?
Yeah.
How could you? They just finished it this morning.
I don't know what day it is.
People ask all the time what happened to my Charger. So here's the story. Here's the truth behind it. It was the fall of 1979. I was with my girlfriend, Tammy. We were at a wedding out in Marcola. We were coming back. We were having a little bit of a tiff, like youngins would do. And I said something about our wedding. And she goes, what makes you think there's going to be a wedding? I said, well, I don't understand why there wouldn't be. You said you wanted to get married. I don't want to get married. I'm too young. Well, that's it for me. Everybody has to die in the car. So I stomp the car to the floor. I start rolling through the gears. I get it up to $130, and the drive shaft fell out of the car. Bounced up and down on the floor of the car, almost catapulted the car. She's turning white. I'm white knuckling the steering wheel. The car had 10-inch drum brakes, so it didn't stop well. Finally got to a stop. That was it. She says some kind of an expletive, gets out, slams the door, and walks back to Springfield. We were only halfway there, so it was a good 6-mile walk. Fast forward a couple of weeks, she wouldn't accept my phone call. I couldn't find her. I went by her house. She wouldn't come to the door. Finally, she came over to the house, agreed to meet. She comes in. She made it very clear. You sell the car or I'm gone. It's that simple. So I took my Charger down to J.L. Morgan Motors on South A Street, and I traded it in, sadly, for a 1968 Volkswagen Bug. This had been made into one of the California Bugs, so it was more of a street version Bug. Oil leaking, no compression having, and I actually paid $150 in my Charger. That was the last time I ever saw my Charger. However, that Bug does have a great story of its own. I ended up pulling the engine out of it and rebuilding it with actually Tammy's dad. We built it up to a 1650, put dual port heads on it, ran a Bosch 050 distributor, a 2-barrel Zenith carburetor. It ran good. I also cut all the California crap off of it, and I made it into a Baja Bug. Put the car together, went over and picked up Royal, and went on our maiden voyage. Our maiden voyage consisted of going to the top of South 4th Street and trying to get over to what we used to call the track. To get there conventionally, you had to drive by Steve's place. Steve shot at people with a BB gun if he didn't want them down that road. So we decided to detour and go around the south side of the mountain, which there is a trail there, but it's very treacherous. It's very slick. But I told Royal shouldn't be a problem. I had 1250 15 tires on the back of it, great big truck tires. All of a sudden, the back end slips out from underneath it, heading due south. We're facing straight up to the heavens, teetering on a couple of boulders. That's when I decided there's no reason for both of us to die, so I jumped out of the car. Royal was the only balancing factor in the passenger seat that kept that car from flying off the cliff.
Flying off the cliff. Flying off the cliff.
I am really excited. Anytime I get a chance to paint on Jim Root's car, it's like, I feel like a kid again. You get like those tingly feeling. It's just, I'm super excited and nervous at the same time, because how could you not be? But I'm hoping if this all goes good, he'll let me spray the car. So I'm getting ready to go in and lay down the DP48 for the sealer for the engine bay.
So it's been nice the past couple years to get Brody to this point. As his boss, as his dad, being here now to turn him loose, and I don't have to worry. And if he goes in there and does a great job, which he should, then maybe I can cut him loose on the car. Like I said, it's just nice to know that I don't have to look over his shoulder anymore.
All right, so basically, I'm gonna start up here, cover all this entire cowl area, and then work my way down. And as I work my way down, I'll go along the sides of it, get the inside of it, make sure it's all nice and covered. So I'm really excited.
Well, what you got going on here, bro?
Same thing we've been talking about. Getting ready to
do
jam Root's
some
car.
painting? Oh, this is for Jim Root's car. This is a big one.
Yeah,
You got a lot of bare metal in here.
that's what the sealer's for.
The what?
The sealer,
What you got there?
DP48.
DP48. Good choice, because it's gray. Yeah, let's see. Are these tinies?
Over the past few months, I've noticed that my dad is really starting to become more and more like Mark. What's a tiny?
Yeah, that's why we say shiny, tiny. So this is a really high profile character, so it's,
I'm aware.
well, we want it done right. So we're just gonna
It is.
put some tape, kinda tiny.
Are you gonna be a while, or?
There's a tiny.
I'll just set this down. I knew he had an influence on him when I was growing up, but he really is just becoming mini Mark. So how come you're doing this now, even though you actually helped me prep it and get it ready to get in here?
No, I gave you guidance, but you didn't listen. So this is
Were you
just,
like
it's here to
actually,
help
were you
you,
actually
Brody.
speaking? or-
Brody, it's here to help you. You remember the movie Point Break?
Obviously, I was named after it.
Remember when Patrick Swayze jumps out of the airplane at the end of the movie and barely gets his chute open?
Yeah, because someone wouldn't pull it.
Yeah.
You're not gonna pull it for me,
Yeah,
are you?
that's-
You're just gonna let me fall.
He's dead now, isn't he?
Unfortunately, he is.
Yeah. God rest his soul.
Coming up, Brody strives to prove himself and earn the right to paint his rock idol's car.
I could be spraying his car. I don't got no words.
But will he be prepared when his father puts him through a final ritual?
But this is a rite of passage, man.
Meanwhile, Mark and Doug continue assembling Mark's dream engine, but will the cousins be able to finish putting this engine together before they end up tearing each other apart?
Mark, I've just about had it with you. I'm gonna punch you right in the nose.
You're damn lucky I don't just go medieval on you right now.
And how did young Mark take action when his best friend's life hung in the balance?
I'm gonna go back down, go to 7-Eleven, see if I can round somebody up. But then I'm kind of hungry.
Find out when Graveyard Carz returns.
I don't even know what's happening right now.
You give me a bloody nose.
Yeah?
Turn the engine in the normal rotation, folks. That is that. Dig goo goo. Dig goo goo. Would you follow my finger here, Peter? Red rum. Red rum. That's the normal rotation. We like to call it
Clockwise?
clockwise. That's right.
Oh,
if
thank
you know
you,
the
buddy.
answer, you shoot it right out there. Clockwise. All right. It says, turn the engine in the normal direction of rotation, which is
Clockwise?
very good. Start with cylinder number 1. When the exhaust valve begins to open, adjust the intake valve. So I've got to watch that lifter right there. So go ahead and rotate that engine until I say it begins to open. I'm just going to use my finger right there so I can feel it move. Ah, God. I felt it move. I felt it move.
Okay.
It's saying when it begins to move, that you want to, at that point, when the exhaust valve begins to open, adjust the intake valve to the correct preload. Okay? So set this at 0 lash. So you're going to want to back that off of there a little bit. I'll give you this in case you need it. Once we understand how to do this, we'll show you how to do it. All right. Okay. Keep going, keep going. God, why with the big, massive movements? What if this was heart surgery? Some guy got to die on the table because you're Frankenstein ass?
Mark, I've just about had it with you. I'm gonna punch you right in the nose.
Would be the first time, buddy.
Huh?
Oh, I'm cramping in my side from laughter. God, no. Oh, what'd I do? You just hit me in the
I'm
nose.
gonna punch you again, buddy.
God, you're damn lucky I don't just go medieval on you right now. You give me a bloody nose?
Yeah?
Well, you better pray to the God of simple-minded people that you didn't.
I don't even know what's happening right now. He's lost his mind. And he calls me the simple one? Okay.
Okay, I think right there we have 0 lash. When I talk about valve adjustment, here's how it works. They want a half of a turn, and you could go up to a full turn, but they want half of a turn in from 0 lash. 0 lash you see me setting right now by taking the push rod, moving it up and down between the rocker and the lifter until there's no gap, no clink, no clunk, no nothing. It's at 0 lash, barely able to turn it with your fingers. Then you turn the adjustment screw in half of a turn. hold that with your wrench and tighten down the lock nut. Once you have that, you can move to your exhaust valve. When the exhaust valve begins to open, adjust the intake valve. Okay, so which one's the exhaust valve on this cylinder here?
This one right here.
Okay, so you're going to need to continue going clockwise until this comes all the way down. This is the exhaust valve for the number 3 cylinder. And what they want is when the exhaust valve begins to open, adjust the intake valve to the correct preload. So right now this is the exhaust. It's open. So we want it when it begins to open. So continue to go the same direction. And now just when this barely starts to move, there, started to move. Okay, now you can adjust.
Re-exhaust.
When the exhaust valve begins to open, adjust the intake valve for number 3. That's that one. So intake, give it half of a turn. Folks, this is going to be quite some time, so I'm going to cut the cameras and we'll be back after all of the valves are adjusted, and after that, we will install the very cool Edelbrock, I call it Edelbrock.
Ooh, I like that.
Intake manifold. Yeah.
Edelbrock.
So I'm getting ready to mix up the paint for Jim Root's engine bay. We're gonna start with the 4 parts of color. This one ready. And we'll get 2 parts reducer of DT885. Then I'll get the DCX61 hardener, which is 1 part. So right now I'm using PVG single stage concept paint. Well, I heard that if all this goes good and everything looks great and he feels confident enough in me to let me spray Root's car, which in the moment I didn't know if I heard him correctly, but I double checked and I could be spraying his car. I don't got no words. I really don't. It's like one of those things like I did have to double check it. Like you hear it, but you just like, it's so crazy that if it is true, it's like Christmas morning. My previous job, before I was getting ready to leave to come here, we hired a guy and, you know, I wasn't like big on metal. I was kind of more of like the hip hop era. And he had played this one song. I was like, that's kind of good. What is that? And he's like, oh yeah, this is Slipknot. I'm like, oh. So of course I added that song to my playlist and then just kind of gradually kept listening to him over and over and then got hooked. I was probably here 3 months, I would say 3 or 4 months, when I found out that we have the guitarist car here. And then at that point you're just like, can I do that one next? Can I do that one next? Can I do that one next? And then later finally comes up and it's just like, wow, it's here. I'm really working on his car. So it was crazy to me. So there you have it, folks. Jim Root's engine compartment is now jammed.
Have you ever seen Top Gun?
Which one?
The original.
No.
You know, where Tom Cruise and Goose get in an airplane that goes into like a spin.
Still no.
And then they lift the lid up, but like Goose tries to come up, but then breaks his back and hits the water. And then Tom Cruise is upset playing the piano. Or was he happy? Well, you get my point, right?
Nope.
So what I'm saying is, don't be Goose.
But it looks great, and I think now we're ready to put on our intake manifold. I hope that intake manifold doesn't upset you.
Here's a new thing Mark's doing. I don't know where it comes from or what it even means. He seems to think I get upset easily. We go to a drive-up window, Mark orders, he says,
Yeah, I'd like a large fry.
and then Mark will turn and look at me.
Does that upset you?
Why would that upset me? I wouldn't care if he got a large fry or a small fry.
Okay, we are going to put an intake pan gasket in place. Is that true?
That is true.
And do we have sealer for it that we can use?
Perhaps.
We have a sealer that we like to use that helps the sealing points, such as the intake ports, little daub right here in the corners of the valley, across the front and the back of the valley. Place that bad boy in there.
Boom, he says. Boom.
Yeah.
Chica. All the way across, he says. Okay. What?
Nothing. Just he gets so funny when the cameras are on. He's like, I don't know, like a kid or something. It's good. It's very charming. A lot of people think it's a very endearing. What are you doing?
Well, you said we're going to go around and around.
Yeah, but don't you just need to go around that right there? Why would you? Well, no, go on the whole damn thing. I don't care where you go. Do you know where it goes?
Well, yeah.
Should we
it
put
goes around here?
Should we put it on the gasket first?
Whatever you want to do, boss.
You see what I deal with every day? I don't just want to say something disparaging about somebody because it's fun. He's legitimately nuts. Like gone. Like Pluto out there. Gone. And there's not a thing in the world you can do to bring him back. You saw One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest? How did they bring him back? Lobotomy. That's right. Lobotomy.
You want to put it on the gasket?
I think we'll put it on the gasket.
Okay, let's put it on the
gasket, Dougie. Because you can see, right?
I can see the gasket.
All right. This is a cool gasket that Edelbrock sent us. It's the intake pan, but it's also got this paper gasket on it, if you can see that. Oh, I've never seen anything quite like that before. Go ahead. So when you're talking about a big block Mopar intake manifold, excluding the 426 Hemi, the intake manifold does not seal the valley of the engine. It counts on a pan, an auxiliary pan. We call it the intake pan or intake gasket. It is imperative that it not only seals around the intake ports, or you'd have an intake leak, which would cause a lean mess, which can burn a valve and greatly affect the performance of the engine. You can also have leaks, oil leaks, because that valley is filled with oil and it's flying around when that engine's running. You have to seal that intake pan against the valley of the block and the heads. That's why we add the additional sealer in all those areas, because it's metal on metal. I don't know that the factory did, but we do, just to ensure that we're gonna have a good seal. Now let's put this bad boy on here. These are the end rails, folks. These are designed to hold the pan down across the front. So we're gonna put that in there like yay, and that will help hold that right there. Well, she's gonna be a snorkeler, huh?
That's what you're telling me.
Yeah, she's gonna be a boogie woogie. I'm trying to put out 80,000 horsepower, but I'm gonna settle for about 500. And that's gonna be a pretty good runner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll pop.
We're gonna run stock exhaust manifolds on this in the Spirit, because I didn't have headers as a kid.
You did too.
On my 318 I did, not on my 440. I couldn't afford it, my dad was dead. Your dad bought you a set for your car. Or you stole them from Brooks, like everybody else.
440.
You had a 318, but you still had headers.
On my 340.
Yeah. Okay.
What you want to do now? Put on an intake?
Yeah, let's put an intake on there.
Big old high-rise intake, you call it, huh?
Okay. So, folks, this is an Edelbrock Performer intake manifold. See that little bad boy right there? It is a dual plane, which means when you look inside of there, you'll see two different elevations. A high plane and a low plane, referred to as a dual plane. Wow. That creates maximum torquage. Okay, where do you want to put your juice on at?
Do you want some?
Why in the world wouldn't I want sealer on both sides of the gasket? You wouldn't put it on one side and not put it on the other side. You wouldn't run out the front door with one sock on and forget about the other one. They're meant to be a pair. You do one side, you do the other side, it sandwiches the gasket in between it. Dougie likes putting intake manifolds on backwards.
Well, I don't like to.
Part of his charm. Okay, now because we're going up again aluminum, we're gonna use a bolt with a washer. If it was cast iron, they didn't do that. So from the factory, when Chrysler had an aluminum part, typically speaking, they would use a washer, a flat washer, underneath the head of the bolt, and it kept the bolt from gouging into the aluminum, whatever it was. So if you had a 1969 and a half or early 1970 446 pack engine, underneath the bolts that hold it to the head, it should have a washer, a flat washer. So if you have aluminum to steel, they want a washer. If you have cast to steel, they don't. Okay, now we're just going to tighten these down. And you have a little 1/4-inch drive electric ratchet somewhere?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got this guy here.
No, I'll kill you. You're not going to use a damn machine gun on my thing. A ratchet. I said a ratchet. 1/4-inch drive ratchet. All right.
About right there.
Just get them a little bit snug first here. Nothing major. Okay, we've got this. So, do you have a fuel pump we can put on next, Douglas?
I do.
Okay. Our goal here shortly is to get this on an engine run stand, cork it off, and see how it sounds.
After the break, can Brody make it through another paint job when his father decides to switch personalities?
I'm your son,
It's my son.
unfortunately.
Will cousin Dougie manage to stay on task when Mark cuts him loose to install the carburetor?
You can almost see me.
And what fate awaits young Royal when Mark abandons him on the edge of a cliff?
Whatever you do, don't get out. It'll be fine.
Find out when Graveyard Carz returns.
So great news. My dad approved of all the jam work on Mr. Root's car, and he's now going to let me spray the body. So the first step in all this is you gotta mask off the car and then go in and wipe it all down right before you're about to paint it. After that, I'll go in and mix up my sealer and my color. So right after I got the car all masked off, I was getting ready to go mix up the paint, and I got blindsided by a nut job in a fedora.
All right, everybody, this is Scoop Scott here with,
You know my name.
oh, for the people at home.
I'm your son,
It's my son,
unfortunately.
but your name.
Brody.
Here with Brody. So you can say whatever you want about this, but this is a rite of passage, man. But these are the trials and tribulations that make me the #1 painter. What are we doing today, bro?
Painting a car.
Painting a car. What car are we painting?
70 CUDA.
What color?
Red.
Painting a red 70 CUDA. What's the paint code on the red?
FE5.
Or E5?
Either one.
Base coat, clear coat?
No, single stage. Single stage.
Single stage. You nervous? You seem kind of
No.
You seem a little tense. This is your
Annoyed. This has nothing to do with a rite of passage nonsense. None of that. This is just my dad becoming Mark.
What's the first thing you're gonna do?
Turn the booth on.
Turn the booth on. Not much for answers, are you?
Nope, you know this.
After you turn the booth on, what's your plan?
Sealer first and then the paint.
Microphone.
Sealer first, then the paint.
This is his very first paint job that he's doing 100% by himself, on top of the fact it's for a celebrity client. I think he's nervous.
Nope.
I think I'm just gonna stand outside here and kind of coach you through it. What do you think?
Why don't you just go in there?
I'm a journalist, I can't go in there.
Graveyard Carz Action News featuring the comedy journalism of Scoop Scott was brought to you by Trace Studios and Cousin Dougie's Campfire Marshmallows. They stick to your ribs and to your face.
Now, we're going to roll her back up right, the way she likes to be, and put on a carburetor.
Once Doug and I got the valves adjusted on it, I knew I could cut him loose with the rest of it. There's the oil pan and gasket, the oil pump, exhaust manifolds, and things like that.
Here's our carburetor gasket on this big high-rise tunnel ram, dual 4 quad ram. You know, you get the gist of it.
For the purpose of clarification, I would just like to point out that that intake manifold is neither a tunnel ram dual 4, tunnel ram single 4, under hood dual 4, 6-pack, or any of the other things Dougie decided to use. It's the same thing it was 5 minutes ago. It is a dual plane 4-barrel aluminum intake manifold. So you're welcome.
Look at this, look at this. I love this. This is so cool. It's a carburetor. Dual float bowls. Fuel goes in both ends, feeds all 4 center. When you open it up, You can almost see me.
Dougie's right about one thing. When you hold it up perpendicular to the camera and you look through the bores and you open them up, you can see Dougie's face.
So anyway, this is a really cool Edelbrock carburetor. Okay, so we'll set this in place. And okay, there's a carburetor.
People ask all the time what happened to my Charger. It was the fall of 1979. I was with my girlfriend Tammy. She made it very clear, you sell the car or I'm gone. So I traded it in for a Baja Bug. Went over and picked up Royal and went on our maiden voyage. All of a sudden, the back end slips out from underneath it, heading due south, so I jumped out of the car. Royal was the only balancing factor that kept that car from flying off the cliff. So I told him, whatever you do, don't get out. It'll be fine. I'm going to go back down, go to 7-Eleven, see if I can round somebody up. Somebody with a come-along, somebody with a truck, somebody with a winch, somebody that can help. So I took off walking. Takes about half an hour or so to walk down to 7-Eleven on 14th Street. I go in there, I make a couple of phone calls. I can't get hold of anybody, but then I'm kind of hungry. So I checked the cooler to see if there's any burritos that are expired, and there was a bean and cheese burrito that had expired. They're still good, they just can't sell them. So I heated up the burrito, ate it, had a big gulp. Dr. Pepper was my choice back in those days. Walked back up to the mountain. There was a little ice cream parlor on about 4th and Main back then, and I did kind of want some ice cream. So I stopped in there and I got some ice cream, black licorice, really good stuff. Walked back up to Royal. By that time, it was about an hour and a half later. And I'm kind of worried at that point. Like, I've been gone a long time. When I was there last, that bug looked like it was going to fall off the cliff. Well, the bug was still there, pointing due north at the sky. When I opened the door, the funk almost knocked me to my knees. He had pooped his pants. And I think it was out of fear, which is understandable. Normally I'd tell him to get out and walk. I didn't want to lose my bug. And 2 is it's kind of my fault. So I powered through it. I got inside there and I said, you know what, buddy? We're getting out of this. And it's a sickening situation when you know what's happened to his draws. Rev up that 1650, dump the clutch, pulled the front wheels the rest of the way off the ground, wheelied straight up the hill about 100 feet, turned it to the left when the wheels came down and touched the ground, motored back out the way we came in, and called it a day. So when I think about getting rid of my Charger, I can't help but think about that bug that I made into a Baja Bug that Royal crapped his pants in the passenger seat of. Those are the kind of memories that last a lifetime. Douglas, this is it. The big enchilada, the one we've been waiting 50 years for.
Uh-huh.
Don't be too excited now.
No, why would I?
Yeah. Hey, I'm glad you couldn't shave today. That looks really good.
What do you call this?
The sterno bum look. It's
There you
basically
go.
the Nick Nolte when he gets drunk and arrested look. Really nice. Folks, you guys got a nice shot of that? Zoom in if you can. We'll take time. This is important.
Oh, hi.
Oh, no, Doug.
Oh,
that
what?
gal I was pointing at over there.
Oh, hi.
Yeah,
I like that gal.
Yeah, stop moving around. She wants to get a close-up of your 7-day growth. But what's funny about that,
What's funny about that?
he shaved this morning. Yeah, that's his hormones. He shaved this morning. This is what he looks at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. He just oh, you want a beard? And it just sprouts out. Like one of those characters you push down and get the clay out of it.
Gets old shaving every day.
So, our Edelbrock 750 is sitting there. Let's take a look and see. What we're going to do here is we're going to turn this ignition on. And I'm going to turn the fuel pump on. I'd like you to look over there and tell me if you see fuel going into the fuel filter.
Yes.
He sees fuel going into the fuel filter.
It's full.
Do you see any fuel lines spurting out anywhere?
I don't see any Niagara Falls anywhere.
That's a good thing.
That's a great thing.
Take a look here. What do you see inside that sight glass?
Full fuel bowl.
And a full fuel bowl.
2 of them.
So I would say we have fuel. Do you have a test light handy?
A Tesla?
Yeah, do you have a Tesla that we can put on the
Tesla
engine stand
coil?
and see how it runs?
Sure.
A test light.
Well, not on me. Can I go get one?
Like I asked you to do half an hour ago. If you want to do it now while the cameras are rolling, that's fine.
Well, I'll do it right now if you like.
Makes no never mind me. No, I just...
Gosh.
Okay, ground that out. I want to see if we have power to the coil. Here we go. I'm going to turn the coil power on. Just tell me if the positive side lights up.
Hey, look at that.
Hey, look at that.
It's like Christmas.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, our power is on. Coil power.
Wow, you're a brave man.
Fuel pump.
I like that. I like the fan.
Fuel. Look at how much that thing's.
God.
Niagara Falls.
We wash dishes in there.
That's a lot of fuel. Yeah, you could. Well, I'm a little scared now. That's a lot of gasoline. I'm going to try it. I don't care. I got guts.
Yeah.
Why is that? Why did it do that?
No way.
Okay, I like a little bit more, though, on it, if you don't mind. Let's see what that does. Too much. We're going to go back to here. So far, so good, though. What have you done?
Still to come, Mark investigates the problem that's keeping his engine from running.
That's what the backfire and the flames were.
Who is the culprit? And why is it Cousin Dougie? Did Will's borrowed approach to coercive coaching work on Brody?
You didn't follow instructions. You wouldn't listen.
Or did it just serve as a distraction?
Who are the sisters?
Watch the movie.
Find out when Graveyard Carz returns.
So my biggest problem with all this is you didn't follow instructions. I took the time, I had a motivational board set out, and you wouldn't listen.
What do those have to do with this? I think I remember Mark doing this to my dad once.
They're motivation. Make sure you do a good job.
Rocky, maybe.
Yeah, Rocky.
So some of those pictures seem to be motivational, but the other ones seem to be deterrents. Well, outside Rocky, what do the rest of them have to do with this?
Well, Rocky's very motivating.
I get that.
Inspirational, overcoming everything. You're doing your first car, it's
I'm
motivating.
not boxing a car.
No, it's just the motivation. So these communication boards were used by Chip Kelly, who had a very successful coaching career here at Oregon. So Mark took that, did his own version of things, and used to show them to me as I was painting. And only Mark and I knew what they meant. You know, good if I was doing bad. So I found them very useful. So with Brody starting to get that process to take over, I'm doing the same thing Mark did, because looking back, it made me a better painter.
What about the one on the top left?
You haven't seen it?
Nope.
That's Shawshank Redemption. You know, the prison scene when the sisters come to visit the guy. No. Since I don't want the sisters visiting you at 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm gonna do this car to make sure it's perfect, but we're gonna do it together so I can educate you and teach you.
Question for you.
Yeah.
Who are the sisters?
Watch the movie. It's very disturbing.
So out of my own curiosity, I went home and looked up the scene, and I don't want that. So I realized it's likely in my best interest to let my dad paint the car, and I avoid any felonies.
Folks, while you were gone, we had a situation come around. We don't want to belabor it. Whoever put the ignition gear in, the timing gear, seemed to have had it clocked wrong down inside the engine. So that's what the backfire and the flames were. Chrysler, in their instruction book, says that when the distributor drive gear is down in its position and you're looking through the distributor hole, the slot should run front to back, pointing slightly off center towards the number 7 spark plug. That's what it's supposed to look like. That way, when you line up the distributor after setting it in there, it points to where Chrysler wants the #1 spark plug wire to fire at. Dougie just got that off 3 or 5 teeth. Here we go, folks. God, that moves a lot of fuel. Jiminy.
Hope that engine likes fuel.
Okay, I've got where I believe the distributor should be set. Okay, that was better. That was better.
That was a lot better.
That was a lot more better.
A lot more better.
I'm gonna give it a little bit more timing and a little bit more petroleum. Oh, look at that double pumper.
Oh my God.
It's a death, isn't
That's
it?
silly.
There it goes. So I turn our exhaust fan on.
Yep.
Okay, it's running. That's all right. Good oil pressure.
Yep.
Now, he said that with roller rockers, you don't have to break the cam in. God, that feels good. Rev that up.
Wow.
Isn't that responsive? That sounds good. We're probably gonna have to readjust those valves.
Yep.
Maybe only 1 or 2, because I'm only hearing 1 or 2. That was the first time I've ever done roller rockers and roller lifters, so maybe a little learning curve there, but it sounds great.
Sounds wonderful.
It does.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the big one, the big enchilada. Boy, that thing puts some torque out. Look at everything shifts when you do that.
Yeah.
Hey. That's what you call a snorkeler, folks. Turn the idle down a hair for me.
Mark and I grew up together, so I'm pretty used to his shenanigans. Back in the day, he was always pulling pranks, trying to be funny, wanted to be an entertainer, wanted to make people laugh. And I was okay with that. I got used to it. I knew what he meant. He just always wanted to make people laugh. The problem would usually go awry when I introduced him to friends. So I would take Mark over to a friend's house, introduce him to Jeff. I'd say, Mark, Jeff, Mark. And then Mark would become Mark again. At that point, I'd usually just wander away. I had already seen the routine 100 times before. It wasn't usually until after the party, say Jeff would come up to me and say, "What the hell is wrong with your cousin?" I'd say, "Mark's just trying to be funny. He thinks he's an entertainer. You'll get used to it. There's no harm intended." However, you can only explain for so long before they think you're covering for him. Good or bad, folks, he's my cousin, Mark Warman, the self-titled dream maker.
That's it, folks. The tray is back in business again. Next time you see this old snorkeler, I'll have paint on it. Married to the transmission, custom built, TCI converter.
What? Oh, sorry.
Maybe we'll be bolting it in a Charger. Going for a ride. Me and Dougie and Royal ride again.
What?
Said you're doing a good job, Doug.
Yeah, I'm sure you said
job.
that, Mark. I'm sure you said that, Mark.
Yep. Great
Yep.
work. All right, shut that mother humper off.
Off?
Yeah.
Off, off, off.